This is the Math 6 Chapter 2 Mid-Quiz Review, which is covering multiplication and division with fractions and mixed numbers. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first set of problems say to multiply and write the answer in simplest form. So here we have 9/10 multiplied by 2/3. When we're multiplying fractions, we are looking to see if we can cross cancel, meaning we're going to look for common factors of our diagonal numbers. So here 9 and 3 can both be divided by 3. So 9 divided by 3 gives me 3. 3 divided by 3 gives me 1. And then I'm also going to look at the other set of diagonals. And here we actually can also cross cancel these, 10 and 2. So 10 and 2 can both be divided by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And once we get to that point, we then multiply straight across. So we basically have done our simplification first. We simplified before, and now we're just going to end by multiplying straight across. And you should get 3/5. Our next problem is 3/7 multiplied by 1/4. If we look at our diagonal numbers, there is no number we can divide them both by besides 1. So we actually here can just multiply straight across, and we'll get 3/28. So sometimes you can cross cancel with multiplication, sometimes you can't, but either way, the end step is going to be always to multiply numerator by numerator over denominator by denominator. So we're still going to be multiplying here, except we're going to be dealing now with some mixed numbers involved as well. And when you see mixed numbers, when you're multiplying or dividing fractions, we want to make sure we use the big C method, and we want to change those mixed numbers into improper fractions first. So here this turns into 7/6 because we do denominator multiplied by whole number added to numerator, and that's our new numerator, 7/6. And we're going to multiply that by 2/5. So now it looks like just two normal fractions, no mixed numbers involved. So now we get to look and see if we can cross cancel, and 6 and 2 we can. We can divide them both by 2. And then again, our last step, once we've checked to see, since we can't cross cancel 7 and 5, we multiply straight across, and we get 7/15. Our next problem has two sets of mixed numbers. So we're going to do 2 C methods here. And this ends up being 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So 7/2 multiplied by 57/10. Now here we actually can't do any cross canceling, even though these numbers are really big. So we're going to multiply straight across. And we will get our denominator to be 20 and our numerator be 399. And then to change this into a mixed number, we need to see how many times does this 20 go into 399. So we could set up a long division problem. And if we were to do our long division here, we're going to end up with a remainder, which is all right. We're left with 19. And if this is our remainder and we have no numbers to drop down, that actually becomes our numerator. And our denominator is what we're dividing by. So our answer here is actually 19 and 19/20. Feel free throughout this video to pause the video, try the problem on your own first, and then check your work with mine, or rewind and rewatch any part of this that you need to. So now we're going to do a word problem. So our directions say to solve, and it says the floor of a concert venue is 103/4 feet by 75.5 feet. What is the area of the floor? So if we look at the shape of the floor, we would know that this is a rectangle. So we want to find the area of this rectangle. And we first need to know the area formula, and it should be length times width. So the area of this rectangle is going to be 103/4 multiplied by 75.5. So we're going to get some big numbers here, but we're going to first change our mixed numbers into improper fractions. And when we do that, we're going to get the area of this rectangle is going to be 403/4 multiplied by 151/2. Now again, we may not recognize any cross canceling. I don't see any cross canceling, so I'm actually just going to multiply straight across and get some big old number, which is totally fine. We'll deal with that at the end. But we end up getting 60,853 over 8. And that's a really large number, but if we look at the floor plan and how long and how wide this floor plan is, it does make sense that our area is going to be large because it's what's inside this entire floor here. So we're trying to figure out all the space inside of there. So we're going to want to see how many times can 8 go into 60,853. So once we do that long division, you end up with 7,606, and then there was a remainder of 5. So that becomes our numerator, and what we are dividing by, which is that 8 right here, that becomes our denominator. So 7,606 and 5/8 feet, but area is always squared, so we have to make sure we square that. So our next is very similar. It says you're laying down sod. It should say sod in your backyard. So you are laying down sod in your backyard. Your yard is 12 2/3 feet long and 20 feet wide. How much sod will you need to cover your entire yard? So here I'm going to draw a quick picture. I'm going to label this 20 feet and 12 2/3 feet. I'm very visual, so I like to have pictures. Let's go back. And we want to find the area. So how much sod we have to lay all in this yard. So the area, again, of this rectangle is going to be length times width. So the area of the rectangle is going to be 12 2/3 multiplied by 20. And so since I have a mixed number here, I'm going to change that into an improper fraction. So the area of the rectangle is, 3 times 12 is 36, plus 2 is 38 over 3. And then I'm going to make this 20 over 1. So we're multiplying 2 fractions. And again, I don't see any cross canceling that I can do here, so I'm just going to multiply straight across. And the area of the rectangle here is going to be, denominator will be 3. And the numerator will be 760 over 3. And again, that's not our final answer. We have to see how many times does 3 go into 760. So I could set up a long division problem if I wasn't sure, and then do that long division. And I will end up with the area of the rectangle being 253, but I do have a remainder. So that's going to make a remainder of 1. So I'll have 1 in my numerator, and then I was dividing by 3, so 3 is going to be my denominator. And again, we're measuring this in feet, and area is always squared. So it'll be 253 1/3 feet squared of sod we would need. Okay, so we have another word problem. These can be kind of tricky, so I like to add a couple word problems in here when I can. So it says band members make 2/3 of their profits from selling concert tickets. They make 1/5 of their profit from selling band merchandise at the concerts. How many times more profit do they make from ticket sales than from merchandise sales? So a lot of times when students see how many times more, we automatically think it's going to be multiplication. But we're comparing two values, and we want to see how many times more. So in order to figure that out, we are actually going to do a division problem. So we're going to take our larger amount, 2/3, because we're seeing how many times more is the amount that they make from concert tickets than their profit from merchandise. So we have those 2/3 there, and we're going to divide it by 1/5. So now we're doing some division here. So when we have division of fractions, we actually need to do a keep, change, flip, or we're going to multiply by what we call the reciprocal. It's the flipped version of our second fraction. So 2/3 stays the same, multiplication sign, and then flip 1/5 and make the reciprocal, which is 5 over 1. So since we can't do any cross canceling, we're going to multiply straight across and get 10 over 3, which simplifies when we change that into a mixed number. It's to 3 1/3. So that means how many times more profit do they make? 3 1/3 times more. Don't say 3 1/3 more, because that's not technically true. It's 3 1/3 times more. And then we would be done there. So we're going to dive right into division now. Again, the directions say to write the answer in simplest form. When we're dealing with fractions, it always will say that. And remember, for our division, we're doing keep, change, flip. So it helps sometimes to write that on our paper. Keep, change, flip. and that flip is the reciprocal. So if you want to try these first, before you watch the video on this, feel free to pause it and then try these on your own. But here we have 1/9 divided by 1/3, so we're going to write this as 1/9 multiplied by 3 over 1. We can do some cross canceling here. 9 and 3 can both be divided by 3, so 9 becomes 3, 3 becomes 1. We're going to multiply straight across, and we get 1/3. Our next problem is 7 divided by 5/8. So I automatically think I see a whole number. I'm going to make it a fraction. So I'm going to make this 7 over 1. So keep that the same, change the symbol to multiplication, and then flip my second fraction, 8 over 5. I don't see any cross canceling this time either, so I'm going to multiply straight across. And I'm going to get 56 over 5, which is an improper fraction, so we need to see how many times 5 can go into 56 evenly. And we're going to get 11 times, which is 55, and then 1 left over, so 11 and 1/5. Our next problems are also division, but here we're actually going to have some mixed numbers. So again, just like multiplication, when you see mixed numbers, you need to change those into improper fractions first. So we're going to use the Big C method, and we're going to get 39 over 8. And I'm going to keep this division still just to make sure we have everything done first. So now we have two fractions, and we can use our keep, change, flip here. So we're going to keep 39 eighths the same, change this to multiplication, and flip 8 over 1. And so now I see 8s in diagonals, so those both become a 1. And then when I multiply straight across, I actually only get 39 over 1, or just 39 as our final answer. And then we have, on this problem, 7 2/3 divided by 1 1/9. So this one has two mixed numbers. So again, we have to do our Big C method first before we can do anything else. So we do that as our first step. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 is 23 over 3. Keep it division still, so we're not trying to do too many steps at once. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So we're doing 23/3 divided by 10/9. So now that we have these as improper fractions, we're going to use keep, change, flip. So we keep 23/3 the same, 23 over 3, change that division sign to multiplication, and then flip our 10/9 and get 9 over 10. Now before we do any multiplication, check to see if we can do any cross canceling, which this time we can. So 9 and 3 can both be divided by 3. And then I can't do any more cross canceling there, so I'm going to multiply straight across. I'm going to have 10 in my denominator, and then 23 times 3 is going to be 69 over 10. So we're going to change that into a mixed number. 10 can go into 69 6 times, with 9 left over. So it's going to be 6 9/10. And that concludes our review video. So feel free to go back to rewatch anything you need to rewatch. Hopefully you guys did really well on that. Review your notes. You can review graded homework. And good luck on your test.